Ever get this feeling like history is repeating itself, like we're going in circles sometimes? Well, get ready, because today's deep dive, it takes us back to this wild power play, medieval times. I swear, you'll wonder if we've really moved that far from kings and popes calling all the shots.
We are talking 1213, King John of England.
Yeah.
The guy basically surrendered to the Pope. Can you imagine? It'd be all over the news if that happened today.
Right.
But we've got these excerpts. They're from an academic lecture. And let me tell you, these scholars, they're about to connect some dots you won't believe.
Okay, so King John, from what I remember, not exactly Mr. Popularity back then, right? Rebellious barons, he's losing battles, excommunicated by the Pope. That's like the definition of a PR nightmare, isn't it?
Yeah, total PR nightmare. But it was a symptom of this deeper thing. This wasn't just John having a bad week, you know? This was a head-to-head monarchy versus the church, Pope Innocent III, no less, and they were duking it out over who really, really held the power. Specifically, they were fighting about who got to appoint the Archbishop of Canterbury.
So not just your average local election squabble, then.
Not at all. This was a big deal. Back then, religion wasn't just like a Sunday thing. It was woven into politics, the economy, everything. If you controlled religious appointments, you basically controlled, well, everything.
Makes you appreciate the whole separation of church and state idea we have now.
Yeah.
It wasn't always like that, was it?
No way, no how. And for John, this clash, it put him in a tough spot. Imagine. Rebellion at home, the French might invade any minute, and oh yeah, you're the Pope's enemy number one.
Talk about a lose-lose situation.
Oh.
What'd he do?
Well, here's where it gets good. So John, instead of fighting both the Pope and his own people, he makes this, I mean, you're not going to believe this, he surrenders his whole kingdom to the Pope. Basically England. Now it's like a vassal state of the papacy.
Wait, hold on. Can you imagine a world leader today just being like, okay, here's the keys, you take it. I mean, that's unheard of.
It's insane.
Right.
But it shows you the power the church had. And for John, it was a huge gamble, obviously, but he was desperate.
So he gives in to the Pope, hoping for some protection. It's like picking your poison, right?
Exactly. He figures, if I'm buddy-buddy with the Pope, maybe, just maybe, he'll help me with these rebels and the French. Risky move, huge stakes, and it gets worse. Not only did John lose control, he had to pay up too. Big-time annual tribute to the papacy.
Ouch. Talk about adding insult to injury. You got to wonder, what happened to England after that? Giving up that much, how'd they ever recover their place in the world?
You're asking all the right questions, and luckily, this lecture, it actually digs into all that later on. But here's the thing. This surrender, it wasn't just some random Tuesday in history. It echoed for centuries. Messed up England's relationships with the church, with other countries, the whole deal.
Wow, okay. So this one decision, born out of desperation, ends up shaping England's future in ways nobody could have predicted.
Now you're getting it. But speaking of shaping destinies, this lecture, it connects all this to something totally different. Ready for this? The American Revolution.
Now hold on. Medieval England to the American colonies. That's quite a jump.
Yeah, no, you're right. It does seem like a big jump. But there's this surprisingly straight line between them. And that line, it goes right through King George III, you know, the British king during the Revolution.
Oh, right. The one who wasn't too thrilled about letting those colonists go their own way.
That's him. So picture it, 1783, Treaty of Paris, everybody's signing, war is officially over. But here's the thing, the treaty, it doesn't just call George the King of England, it also calls him the Prince Elector of the Holy Roman Empire.
Prince Elector, huh? Okay, now that's not a title you hear every day.
Yeah.
Remind me, what was the big deal about that one again?
Blast from the past, right. Okay, so Holy Roman Empire, back in the day, was huge, Central Europe, kind of like a medieval European Union, but, you know, way more complicated. All these little states, rulers under this, well, loose organization.
Right. Lots of alliances, power struggles, the works. Gotcha. So this Prince Elector thing, was it just for show then? Like a consolation prize for George after losing the colonies?
Oh, absolutely not. No way. This is where the lecture gets good. See, that title, it wasn't just some old tradition they slapped on there. It was calculated. This was George's way of reminding everybody, subtly, that he was still a big deal in Europe, even with the colonies doing their own thing.
Wow. Talk about strategy, right? Sneaking a power play right into a peace treaty.
Exactly. By putting that Holy Roman Empire connection front and center, George is sending a message to the other European powers. Don't count me out, I've still got influence here. It's bigger than just those colonies across the ocean.
Man, it makes you realize how much we miss just reading stuff, you know? Like a title in a treaty, we'd skim right over that. But to them, back then, it's loaded.
It's true. And get this, the lecture argues that even though the Holy Roman Empire officially bit the dust in 1806, it still had this, I don't know, like a covert influence on Europe.
Wait, covert? Are we talking like secret societies now, shadowy figures making deals?
Not quite secret societies, but think of it more like, hmm, like a phantom limb, maybe. The empire's gone, but you can still feel it, you know? Shaping how people see things, influencing decisions. For centuries, it represented this idea, this order, power structures, shared culture, religion. That stuff doesn't just disappear overnight, even if you say it's officially
So
over.
it's like the empire's legacy, right? It's got this long shadow, even if it's not really there anymore. But what are some actual examples how this covert influence actually work?
Well, the lecture points to Germany, 1871, when they unified.
Oh, right. Bismarck, pulling it all together. The new German Empire. How does that tie back to the Holy Roman Empire, though?
See, unifying Germany, it wasn't just politics. There was this deep down desire for unity, for strength.
Mhm.
And people connected that with the Holy Roman
So they
empires.
wanted that old empire back, even if it was under a new name.
Exactly. Even the idea of a unified Germany, strong central authority, it goes back to the Holy Roman Empire. Bismarck tapped into that, used it to get people on board, make his vision seem legit.
Like history gave him a roadmap, or at least, a good starting point. But okay, let's look back to King John and that whole surrender thing. How does that connect to all this covert influence stuff? It's funny, right? Like that saying, those who can't remember the past are doomed to repeat it, or something like that.
Yeah, but in this case, it's almost like those who do remember the past, maybe they have a better shot at actually changing the future, you know?
Ooh, I like that. Way more optimistic. And it makes sense, right? This whole deep dive, it's showing us that power. It's never simple. It's this constant back and forth, give and take. Like with King John, the church had so much influence back then. It's wild.
It really is. And the thing is, even though the names change, the kings, the popes, the empires, those big tensions, secular versus religious, personal ambition versus like wanting to belong to something bigger, those never really go away.
Makes you think about leaders today, huh? The choices they make, what they'll be remembered for. Do you think they're thinking about all this history? Playing the long game, like George III with that title thing.
Million-dollar questions, right? It's something to think about as we see what's going on in the world. This lecture, it doesn't give us all the answers, but it does make you look at how history is still shaping things, even when we don't realize it.
Totally. Isn't there another quote, something like, we might not be interested in history, but history is interested in us?
Ooh, that's a good one. And sometimes it takes a deep dive like this to really get where we fit in now.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, folks, there you have it. From a king making a crazy deal to secret messages hidden in treaties, we've covered a lot of ground today. Hidden connections, fresh perspectives. It's all about those forces shaping our world.
Exactly. Just goes to show you never know where a little historical deep dive might lead you.
And on that note, one last thing to ponder. If King John giving up his crown was this desperate gamble, what about today? What gambles are leaders taking now? What will their legacies be?